Believers claim a true psychic can accurately foresee the future, and as proof of their skills, psychics may know a stranger's most intimate details. Well, Paul Wilson also has that ability, and he's not psychic at all, he's just a cynical hustler. This is the psychic scam.
This is an example of a hustler using a belief system to take advantage. The idea is to string the mark along, promising them anything that they want, and the bigger the promises, the more they're willing to pay.
There's no specific category for, the people who fall victim to this sort of scam. It's people who are looking for answers, people who are vulnerable. It can be absolutely anybody.
In order to put the psychic scam into play, Paul has rented an office and decked it out in mystical paraphernalia. He wants to attract in unwary punters looking for answers in their lives, and then bamboozle them into giving up their hard-earned cash.
Come in. Hello.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Paul. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Have a seat. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's cold.
The scam is about to begin. He's got his first customer, or Mark.
And how are you today?
Okay.
Yeah? Yeah, interesting. Hello.
It's time for the cold reading.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Okay.
I'm a
nervous.
bit nervous.
Yeah. This is really a get to know you kind of session. I use some pretty unusual methods.
Okay.
Nothing to worry about. We won't burn anything. I basically like to try and see what kind of connection we've got. I'd like you to mix those up any way that you like. Any way is good.
Paul uses fortune cards as a prop. He pretends to be getting signs off randomly picked cards.
We'll make 3 piles any way that you like. And make 3 piles for me. Any way that you like.
In fact, he's about to play out a pre-rehearsed script to suck the punters in and gain their trust.
You've got an issue on your mind right now, don't you? I do get a feeling that you have something on your mind right now.
Notice how he keeps saying the same thing to each person, and how the comments he's made is always correct for every victim, even though it's the same question.
You don't take everything completely at face value. You like to weigh it up and balance it a little bit. One of the most difficult things about being a fake psychic is convincing someone that you do have psychic powers. And the way that I did this is using a technique known as cold reading. Now, cold reading starts as a very basic series of Barnum statements. That's 10 statements which could apply to anybody, and because people think that they apply to them specifically, they believe that you have some kind of insight that they don't have. And basically, by using their reactions and having a good knowledge of people themselves, you can unfold somebody's personality, and as you're doing that, find out what they want and hope for, and give them that in the future.
Now, having gained a degree of trust, Paul starts to wheedle some specific information out of each mark. This is going to come into play later on in the scam.
Velma.
Velma.
Yeah.
One used to push me down the stairs.
Pushed you down the stairs?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, do you have a specific date in your life that is important? So tell me about that, a little bit about that.
Well,
what was his name?
John.
It was John. Do me a favour, on the wall here is a chart. You see all the different little pictures, the collage? Yeah.
The first stage is complete. It's time for Paul to perform his big convincer. We call it the miracle. First, he distracts the marks by asking them to look at the chart on the wall. You'll find out why in a moment.
Just give me a second's thought and tell me which ones relate to you the most. I want you to look over the pictures, give everyone a second's consideration for me. That's it.
Now he shows each mark a notepad full of doodles. These doodles are meant to have been made by Paul whilst in a trance and are supposed to represent his contact with the spirit world.
You know, I have personal readings with people quite regularly, but what I try and do is anything that comes to my mind, I write it down. I doodle, I do anything that it takes.
Just watch. Paul is now about to reveal his miracle.
I try very, very hard to take in any thought that comes to me and note it down. And so, for example, August the 8th, I mean, that could be you.
Yeah.
Couldn't it?
Yeah.
This really could be you, couldn't it? Jill, is that your mum's name?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's being pushed down the stairs.
Being pushed down the stairs. That's very, very good. This might actually be you.
Paul's hit the nail on the head with details he couldn't possibly have known about. That book was sitting on the shelf before the mark even entered the room. How could that personal information have passed into Paul's mystic notebook? Was it a miracle? Is Paul in contact with the other side?
I have never had a hit like that.
Actually, yes. Paul is in contact with Alex, who's on the other side of a false wall. He's been playing a crucial role in the scam. Whilst the marks were revealing information to Paul 15 minutes earlier, Alex was secretly listening and making the miraculous doodles appear using a very mundane biro. Once he'd heard enough to make the necessary doodles, Alex waits for Paul to distract the mark's attention. Then he subtly slips the pad through the secret hatch into the room, ready for the mark to retrieve it and believe it was there all along.
You have to remember, they're not expecting a magic trick. They're not expecting something like this. They're certainly not expecting, someone to be behind the wall. So this literally comes out of left field to these people. And when they see their life, their personal facts, on a piece of paper that I apparently wrote or drew before they arrived, they really don't know how to react. But a connection like that, I don't want to ignore.
No.
At all.
I don't think it's worth me ignoring it either, to be honest.
I'm really excited by a connection like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be thinking about that all day. You can imagine what it's like for me.
You can't even put so many names in one reading anyway. That's just
Unbelievable, isn't it?
All of which leaves the marks more than happy to hand over their cash to Paul, to make sure they get the benefit of his amazing powers.
Listen, shall we do this?
yes.
This is what I'm offering people. If you're interested and you feel that we've made a connection here today, and I think we have, to be honest, since you first came in, I think that we've had a pretty interesting connection. Would you want to take that further?
He truly has got some amazing powers. The power to fleece the poor punters being the chief amongst them.
Mind is racing right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. My mind is racing. I'm very keen to get you on board, I'll be honest, because anybody I can connect to like that helps my cause. Because there's so many people that just think this stuff is garbage.
I was sitting there and I was thinking, okay, yep, that's true. And I was still in half a mind until he brought out the notepad.
That was intriguing that he had those down. I hadn't even spoke to him then, so that was fantastic.
It made me feel scared, and I was trying to think of where the trick was. And I think that's why, because I was scared of it. I was thinking, where's the trick in it?